Dear viewers, welcome to today's show. We're now broadcasting to you through the CGTN and its affiliate website application. Today we're at Linzi of Shandong Province. And speaking of Linzi, we all know that it's the ancient capital of the state of Qi during the World State eras, and it served the function of a capital for over 600 years. And today we are here to introduce to you one sport that is quite similar to football, to the modern football. That is called cuju. This would be what it looks like to play cuju during the Warring State era, and this is a local cuju team. They will be demonstrating to you how to play cuju. They are professional cuju players, and they play games against each other. And here is a cuju ball. You can see that it's very similar to today's modern football. There are many types of balls in cuju. Here you can see this one. It has 4 pieces of cloth sewing together, and this is sold by 6 or 8 or 12 pieces of leather. Can you guess what time, how many years does this football dates back? Because in different time, in this different historical time, the forms of football are also different. You can leave us comments on the bulletin board. And this is the captain of the team. He is a professional trainer of football for cuju as well, and we do training on a daily basis. Also put on performance, and there are also matches. Today the weather is really hot. The temperature is high. Can you show us how do we play cuju? The costume looks very interesting. This is actually a copy of the costume of Song Dynasty. You can see the cap, the boots, and also the robe are similar to that of Song Dynasty. And we also base design on historical records. And there's also a belt. The boots is different from today's football. How many players actually participate in a game? In Tang and Song Dynasty, there will be 1 goalpost, and 3 to 7 players can play the game. Today we have 6 players. This is the referee. This is the entrance of the players. Similar to today's before today's football match, we'll be playing the national anthem. And now the game begins. This is for both sides to choose sides. So if the player kicks the balls through this goalpost, that would be 1 point for his team. So that would be 1 score that is registered in the form of this bamboo chip. So that is also called 1 chou. to record the score for the teams.
这是交换球权，对，没有过这个风流眼。
If the player fails to pass the ball into the post, the rights of kicking the ball would be passed to the other side. This form of football of cuju is mainly played during the Tang and Song dynasty. This ball is made of 7 pieces of cloth, and in the inside is made of pig bladders. I've learned that our viewers are wondering if the balls can fall to the ground. Yes, you have to make sure that the ball does not touch the ground before you kick it through the goalpost. That is the same function as today's goalpost in modern football. It is actually quite complicated to do. It looks like volleyball, but it dates way back more than volleyball. That would be one match. So if any team scores more than 3 goals, it would be the winner. There will be punishment and rewards for the losers and winners. So this is the referee. You are in charge of making the rules, handling the rules. So right now it's 3-3. There is punishment for losers. There is powder in his ball. Anyone who won get to smear the powder onto the other side's face. So in the past, it would be more harsh, but now this punishment is more for fun. We have 2 captains here. The captain of the winning team get to smear powder on the captain of the loser team. So they can take turns. Our viewers are asking, you are the only bearer of the punishment, and the other team players can be spared. So in modern football, there will be forward, there will be guard, and midfield. What are the roles of the cuju game? The captain of the cuju team will be in charge of kicking the ball into the post, while the other teams are in charge of passing the ball to the captain. This is called 场户cuju. It is highly technical. If you think about the story of the water size, you would know that the official gaoqiu is a very proficient cuju player in order to please the emperor. This is a particular technique to pick the ball from the grounds.
对对对，几乎相似。
The movement are extremely similar to today's modern football.
也不一定，你像还有很多这个3个字的，它是单个的谢数成组的成套的组合起来。
So there are many complicated techniques to this cuju players.
两脚传球。
Two players can also play this game.
就是2撵，2撵是啥意思呢？这个撵就是咱们这个场户蹴鞠讲究5撵不成这个场户，撵就是停球的意思。啊，3个人呢叫做观场，他这个。
If there are also rules for 3 players to play this game, almost like kicking 毽子. 毽子 is actually an extension of cuju. The 3 players are passing the balls to each other.
一个人出尖，所有的人就是，比如说这个球拿球了，必须他2个人把球都给他，由他来传递，决定将球传给谁，这叫出尖。
There are also different rules. You can pass the ball from one to another, or one player can decide who to pass the ball to. This is 火下 rules, which is the rule for 4 players to do together.
就是必须呢，这个也是有球权的决定。比如说这个球员拿球，他们2个人都是要把球传给他。刚才有网友刚才提问了一下，就是他这个足球踢球的。
Our viewers are asking.
非常像现在足球是吧？对对对。它也是。
This is quite similar to modern football. No touch of hands. What if someone used their hands to touch the ball? If the ball touches the ground, or you need to do push-ups or do frog jumping, this is considered a form of punishment. This is 5 people can also play this game. The person in the middle decides who to pass the ball on. The ball should also not touch the ground. If it touches the ground, there will be punishment, such as push-ups or frog leaps. 6 players. Now we have 6 players participating in this game. And the player at this side and that side would be in charge of deciding who should we pass the ball to. And that would be a foul, and this person has to do push-ups.
现在这个场景呢，相当于等于是以前的一种互动的一个方式，是吧？除了比赛之外的。
It is very interactive game. There are also games, competitions in ancient Asian games. For example, the Qiyun Society, which is the Asian form of a football association, would organize matches between clubs.
这种场户出去白打出去，怎么炫怎么来。对，怎么炫怎么来。还有一种呢，就是跟现代足球非常接近的，就是咱们秦汉。
Another form is quite similar to modern football, that is military cuju in the Qing and Han Dynasty.
对对，就是咱们看到这种秦汉时期的4片足具，里边呢它是。
It is made of 4 pieces of cloth. It is filled with animal hair.
对，
This is the ball that they're using on my left hand.
对对对。
That is what I mentioned before. The footballs in different times are different from each other.
外缝法，这种居呢是中唐以后出现的，里边
It is sewed from the outside. This is filled with the pig bladder. It's quite similar to modern football. This is the earliest form of football. It is not vacuum inside. It has animal hairs in it. It is not as elastic as these vacuum ones. It almost cannot bounce back. But this is more bouncy. On the exterior is made of cow leather. This ball is made of 4 pieces of leather, so it's not as bouncy as that one. This is vacuum. It's quite similar to basketball or football that we use today. The goal that we're using is the goalpost we're using Han Dynasty is quite similar to the modern football. And later we will see a demonstration of the football form in the Han Dynasty. The football court, the cuju court, is smaller than modern football. It's similar to the 5-person football that we see today. The cuju court of Han Dynasty is about 30 meters multiplied by 20 meters. We also have the referee. This is the Han Dynasty football. According to historical records of the Han Dynasty, there are also fouls, but hands again are not allowed to be used during the game. So it's quite similar to today's modern football. It is mainly conducted, this kind of match are mainly conducted in the military. It is quite intense and competitive. The modern football at its early stage are played on the streets. You cannot use your hands to touch the ball, but you can use your hands to push each other. No goalkeeper, that's one thing, but there is a referee. So this kind of pulling and pushing are to some extent allowed according to the game, according to the rules. That is intersection. And teamwork is important. Position is important. The cuju in Han Dynasty stressed a lot on physique of players. This is only a brief demonstration of the rules of cuju in Han Dynasty. You can see very intense competition with pulling and pushing between players. Normally, the emperors in Han Dynasty would stand up there to watch the game and those who did good will be rewarded, and those who lost will be punished. So that's one goal.
这个因为这个我们是简单的这个展示，没有带来今天的这个奖惩环节。这个奖惩环节估计会在古代的话会非常的严格。你看像这，咱可以看这个球门啊。
In the past, this punishment and rewards are quite considerable. This is a very small goal.
容纳一个人，像一个人的话，也就是咱这么大一蹲下
就是可以在这边有个人在这边站着。
对。
哦，球门是这样子的，场地嘛是这样的场地，对吧？双方都。
That's the court. That's the goalpost.
对，可以，就是跟现代的
非常相似，是吧？这在
It is quite similar to the modern form of football.
就是像这样的仿古的一个成砖一体的，不会说是单独的有个像那种拉网式的。
The post is integrated to the city wall.
汉的这种城墙这种居城啊，它只有
In Han Dynasty,
配置。
in Han Dynasty, only the emperors have had the right to watch the football. The common people did not have the right.
球进去了，然后再弹出来，这样算是进吗？
这样算进。
算进是吧？它不是说
So if the ball was kicked in and then bounced back, is that considered a goal?
打往这里，它有可能也会
That is considered a goal. It is similar to modern football. If the entire ball is inside the goalpost, it would be considered scored.
足球跟足球真的有很多相似的事。是的。像这样子的话，就是刚才咱说的这个，这是宋代的，大家可以看到我身后这一个，这是哎呦，上次有。
So the first match we observe is the football of Song Dynasty.
汉代的球门。
这一个是宋代的球门。
The second match we observed is football in the Han Dynasty. In ancient times, the goalpost in Song Dynasty was actually higher than this. It's about 9 meters, but this goalpost that we observe is only 4 to 5 meters. So 9 meters high, that would be quite difficult. That would take a very professional players, so very proficient players to score. Can I have a try? We can first move the goalpost
大家可以
here.
看一下，现在的话是4米5，这个球门呢？
We can see that this goalpost is 4.5 meters high,
风流眼是2.25米。
and the ring at the center is about 2.25 meters. According to historical records, this goalpost used to be about 9 meters.
9米10米没有问题，但是这个准确性就非常的难了。
Not only do you have to kick the ball to 9-10 meters, you also need to score.
差点打着我们的摄像师傅，就是咱可以看一下，就他的重力提高能踢多高？这样子的话，就是用力用全力提高。换个球，没有那个，这个是吧？这个踢的高度的话，也就能达到10米左右吧，差不多是吧？
I think that would be 10 meters high. If you use your full strength, it would be 10 meters, let alone scoring. It would take much more proficiency. We actually shrunk the size of the ring. This is about 1 meters in diameter. In the past, this this goalpost would be fixed to the ground, made of wood.
因为看看《水浒传》里边高俅踢球的时候，
对对对，
就是这样。
If you watch the television show, the story by the waterside, you would see that one of the main characters, Gao Qiu, was playing this game to please the emperors.
哦，浑身解数。
对对对。
成语浑身解
And
数。
he did all he could to please the king.
略胜一筹啊，拔得头筹，浑身解数。
And a lot of
对，都是
terms, fixed terms of the Chinese language actually originated from cuju.
对对对。
哦，略胜一筹，拔得头筹。
对，浑身解数。
浑身解数。
是。
讲的就是足球的，就是蹴鞠的一些术语。
对，是的。
来，麻烦一个队员过来，麻烦队员过来。
They were first used in cuju game.
对对对。高太位那个，那队长是吧？在上面。就是他是那种专业表演性质的，是吧？是的。就是那种等于说给王。
So it also have this performance nature to it. You can showcase your techniques to the emperors, to the kings, to the royals. If you play really well, you can even be named as one of the officials, and each year there will be examinations and will be granting certificates to register and to honor your techniques. There are also official matches organized by the cuju association. Why don't you have a try? I'm not very good at it.
队长给我们展示一下。麻烦队长，就是咱就是一些像电视剧里边出现的一些场景，一些专业的一些技巧。
Can you do some tricks for us, Captain? There is one set of movements. It takes a lot of practice to be able to do this. I think it's quite difficult to control. For our players to be able to do that, it must take a lot of training. It almost looks like a street football. The street football is actually the modern form of the 白打cuju.
这非常相当于现在的这个控制，我想采访一下，打断您一下，它这个控制的话非常难吗？它跟那个现在的这种
It is very difficult. Is it very difficult to control this ball? It is lighter than modern football, but it's not easier to control. It is not exactly in a round shape. It has all of these bumps at the suture. There are different techniques in 白打cuju. You can use your head, your shoulders, your chests, or your knees to touch the football, and also to showcase the tricks. This is known as 解数, which is the ancient Chinese way of saying football techniques or cuju techniques. Can you do that again? It looks very impressive. Takes time, takes some adjustment before he can do that again. To make sure, you have to make sure that your ball does not touch the ground. These tricks can also be used in modern football. Cristiano Ronaldo actually used one of these tricks to make a pass. And also Neymar used this technique in one of the games. Thank you so much. The temperature is really high. Thank you for demonstrating for us. These are professional cuju team who conduct daily training. Otherwise, you might not be as efficient as you are today. We have to do training every day. No pains, no gains. Thank you so much. So that would be the recreation of an ancient soccer or ancient cuju field. I'm right now at Linzi city of Shandong province, which, as I said, is the ancient capital of the state of Qi during the Warring State of area, also known as the birthplace of cuju. This would be a cuju museum introducing to you how the modern football began and how cuju evolved.
在这里边介绍更专业的知识，我想请到了就是咱那个齐文化博物馆的朱书记。你好，你好。他是不仅仅
To introduce more knowledge to you, we have the director of this museum with us to give us a more detailed introduction. So this is a cuju museum, a very professional football museum in China. Because cuju is the earliest form of modern football, and it dates back to 2,000 years ago. And this museum mainly aims at telling you the stories and the history of cuju. So the Tang Dynasty and the Han Dynasty are two of the most dynamic dynasties in Chinese history, and also during those time, China is very prosperous and cuju is quite popular. So cuju literally means kicking the leathered ball. This is the earliest form in the state of Qi of the Warring States area. That is one of the most prosperous states at that time. On the street of the state of Qi, there will be people playing cuju. During that time, there are records that in the records of the grand historian, there is recordings of the form of football. So in Linzi city, there are about 70,000 households. It is a very populous city. There was very clear records depicting the prosperity of people's economic and cultural life in the state of Qi. So in the Han Dynasty, cuju is mainly a form of military training. But this is what happens in Qing, in the state of Qi, during the Warring States area. This is also considered a form of military training, but it is also played by by the civil society as well as people in the royal family. These series of sculptures intend to describe how the ball that is used in cuju is made. You have to submerge the leather first in order to take out the furs. And as we know, it uses this cow skins. You need to submerge them into the water to go through some chemical process, and then you can cut the leather into pieces and dry them before sewing them together, and then fill them with animal hairs or feathers. And then you need to pat on them to make it lighter. And then you can sell them in markets. This is how the balls are made. And later on, there will be a demonstration, simple demonstration of the process of making cuju balls. We'll get back to that. And this is also a recreation, a holographic recreation of how the streets in Qi State look like. And now we are going to the Han Dynasty, so-called the golden period for cuju. When Liu Bang became emperor, he brought his father to live a wealthy life in the royal palace, but his father was not happy. Liu Bang wondered why was that the case. And then his father said that he used to be living in the underworld, and he felt that after living in the palace, he has cut his ties with the civil society. That's why Liu Bang built one of this neighborhood, even moving a lot of his father's old neighborhoods to live here. And then his father was very happy. This is an exact recreation of his father's old neighborhood. So that's where Linzi located, the capital of the state of Qi. This is the Peixian County, where Liu Bang is from. And that's the capital of Chang'an. In Han Dynasty, cuju became much more popular. This is the earliest football fans, cuju fans to be exact. Now, a lot of players would pay a lot of money to see live football. But this is the earliest form of football fans. This gentleman's name is Xiang Chu. He, at that time, was very tired and fell ill. Went to see a very famous doctor named Chun Yuyi. And Chun Yuyi, this doctor, told him that you spent too much energy doing physical work. You should take more breaks. But he would not listen to the doctor. He still threw himself in playing football. And then he ended up dead due to this excessive physical exercises. And it's fair to say that he was really a crazy soccer or cuju fan. This is a model of the cuju court, which is similar to the one that we just saw. That's the soccer, the cuju court in the Han Dynasty. And the emperors would be sitting up there to watch the game. Are there cheerleading teams? Yes, of course. You can see drums and other musical instruments at the side of the court, cheering for the team. There are 9 stairs representing the position of the emperors. This kind of courts usually are located inside the royal palace. Therefore, the commoners were not allowed to watch the game. This is clearly recorded in historical books. There are also 2 cabins that serve as the goalpost in the game. And in this exhibition zone is the situation in Tang and Song Dynasty. At this period of time, women football began to emerge. In different dynasties, the forms of football and its manufacturing technique are quite different. There are 4 balls. We have 6 pieces, 4 pieces. As before Mid-Tang Dynasty. The more pieces of cloth there is, the more similar it is to the modern football. This is the ball that is used in Song Dynasty, which is made of 12 pieces. The modern football is made of 32 pieces. And if you take a close look at the sutures, it used to be exterior sutures, but in the Song Dynasty, it became internal sutures. That will be that much more complicated to do the sewing. Therefore, there are more pieces as time goes by, and there are also 2 balls at an earlier stage that is not vacuum, but the balls at a later stage are vacuum. These are some of the earliest historical records of cuju. We can see some pictures and some paintings and sculptures depicting the popularity of cuju. And this is called the Qiyun Club. which is a professional soccer association in ancient times. It had a very high social status back then. This is the earliest form of football clubs. These are some of the rules of playing football. For example, it depicted that you cannot kick the ball after drinking. You cannot kick the ball if you had a vicious mind. If you feel unwell, can also not play the football because it might jeopardize your health. These are 10 things that you shouldn't do during a game. You shouldn't talk too much. You shouldn't be too bold. You shouldn't gamble. You shouldn't drink. So it's very similar to the virtues of sports, such as friendship first and game second. Just some rules for the players to follow. And if you break these rules, you'll be punished.
刚才跟他说了，你看，一来这边你可以看到了，这就是刚才我们说的那个，也是还原的一个现场，是吧？就是对，这就是皮革最早的制作工艺，这是我们的一个。
This is how the balls were made. You can see that the leather is cut into pieces according to this mold. And this is the model for the 8-piece ball. So the more pieces there is, the rounder the ball would be. The leather has already undergone special processing. You can see that the inside there are fillers such as the cotton. In the past, there would be animal furs or feathers, and later it becomes animal bladders. And right now, we're of course using cottons. How do we close the sutures? That would be a secret. If you are interested, please come to the museum to see for yourself. Because it is sewed from the inside. This one is sewed from the outside. This would be much easier. But still takes a lot of proficiency. This is quite difficult, and our characters are hesitant to introduce this one because it's quite complicated. If you're really interested, please come into the museum and see for yourself. And this is another form of balls. It is not as bouncy as that one. And you can have different fillers such as rice or even grass. This is more for decorational purposes. And children can play this ball for fun. You can also see some of these in television shows. This is the inheritor of cuju. So you must be a pro. It dates back to 2,000 years ago, this technique of making cuju. This one is made of cloth of leather, but how are these made? It also has fillers in it. We actually has one of these relics that is excavated in the 1979. It is a relic of the Han Dynasty. That is the earliest form of this handball. So were your predecessor, your family's professionals of manufacturing these balls? We grew up watching this, making this. It almost looked like baseball. Can you show us how to manufacture this ball simply? In the past, we'll be using silk or cotton or grass as the filler. And rice hulls can also be used as the filler. And you can wrap them first, and then use this line to wrap it. But it takes a lot of time, right? You need to use these finer lines to wrap it, and then you can switch to other colors to cover the entire ball. You can even make this into different shapes. After that, you can do some embroidery on it. It takes a lot of techniques. That would be the final product. This looks quite intricate. It also requires mathematical and geometric knowledge. So it's much easier to make the balls into different patterns. It is so well designed that requires geometrical and mathematical knowledge. This is mainly played by using your hands, as it is not as elastic as your normal football. This one is more elastic. The school kids love playing this. But they are mainly for recreational purposes. They work here to demonstrate to the tourists how the footballs were made. There are also specialized tools to manufacture these balls. You need to sew these different pieces together, whether it's 6 pieces or 8 pieces or 12 pieces. Sew them together one by one. And before you close these sutures, you need to put in the fillers. Here you can see this is a special knife to cut the leather. There are even factories to make these balls. It takes about 2 days to finish making one ball. This is the football league, if you will, of the ancient times. This kind of game took place in the mountaintop. Tickets would be charged, and prizes would be granted after the game. From this angle, we can see clearly that the height of the goalpost is about 7 to 9 meters. And it takes a lot of technique if you want to pass the ball, kick the ball through the ring, because it's quite a small ring. It takes both technique and strength to be able to do that. During the Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasty, it continues to evolve. So it starts in the warring state area and becomes more popular in Han Dynasty, and at Tang and Song Dynasty it reached its peak. People know this cuju from ancient novels such as the story of the Water Side, and from TV shows. Our cuju performances were also performed during the Olympics and World Expo. They also have their games. And there are also teams from Japan and the Republic of Korea. There are even some communicational activities between these countries. We use cow leather, and in Japan they will be using deer leather.
球形其实是越不规则，
Their balls are only made of 2 pieces of leather,
对，随着
which would be made it impossible for them to make rounder balls.
这是整个一个展馆。
Now we are on the 2nd floor of Exhibition Hall. This is mainly about the historical development of modern football. So it has more modern flavor to it. This junior player is called William Weber, one of the earliest football fans. During one football match, he held the ball at his hand and began running. And at that time, rules were made. If you have to use your hand, go play rugby. And he's also known as the father of rugby. That is American football. So in this exhibition hall, it depicts the history of modern football. Some rules involve evolution and development. The development of the modern football, also known as English football. These are some of the suits of different national teams. And as you can see, this is a video collection of the World Cups. Right now, we are also during the Russian football, the Russian World Cup. You can see different mascots of World Cups. So we have a full collection of the mascots. And this is a collection of the balls that are used in the game. And this is a replica of the World Cup. On the 1st floor is a history of cuju. On the 2nd floor is a history of modern football. In this area, we can see bigger mascots of the World Cups and also sculptures of the football players. Here are also some interactive zones for tourists, especially for kids. You can conduct some activities here. This is the shooting game. You can try to kick the ball into the rings on the wall. There are also other activities. You can compete with the football stars. This is also an interactive zone. You can work as a goalkeeper here to press these buttons to mimic the movement in the football game. You are trying to kick the balls out. It's not easy to be a goalkeeper, right? There are dozens of games for the visitors to enjoy. You can shoot the ball as Bailey. You can also serve. You can also work as a goalkeeper.
这也是个射门的区域。决胜12码，也是射门的。
This is for you to play the penalty, and in front of you, there will be very famous goalkeepers in front of you trying to keep your ball out. You can have a try.
出去了一个是吧？没进。
I think I missed that one. One more time.
相当于模拟了一个踢点球的一个现场，就是 C
It's a simulation of the penalty.
你和明星能不能比过他？你能射中，叫他扑不出来，这就你胜了。对对对。
So people can come here and try to make a goal.
踢出来了，太近了。
再试一把，争取命中。
One more.
出局的这些人都踢得非常好。差一点，哈哈。
Missed it.
咱争取下次来比过他。
Probably you can keep practicing.
对，这10几个游戏全是让游客去互动体验。
As I said, there are dozens of games for the visitors to interact and to do some activities, and the kids can also participate in this.
刚才我看了一下，一个专门介绍中国足球的一个展厅。
对对对，下面我们
At this time, this exhibition hall is an exhibition hall for Chinese football. Chinese cuju has a long history of thousands of years. The modern football of China is also making progress. The women's football of Chinese women's football team is one of the best, most outstanding teams in the world. So that's the first time for us to participate in the international stage. We underwent a difficult path, but we are making progress slowly along the way. So we talk about the history, and we also have some relics, some exhibits. And this is one of the highlights for us when the women's football team scored a silver medal in the World Cup. This is one of the original silver medal, and this is a ball that is signed by all of the players at that time. That is really the pride of the Chinese people. That's the silver medal that we won back in 1999. The best records for Asian team. That's a sculpture for the captain at that time, Sun Wen. These are some evolution of the rules of football. So today we walk past the ancient times of cuju in the warring states to Tang and Song Dynasty, to Yuanming and Qing Dynasty. And on the second floor, we enter the stage, the history of modern times, and the World Cup. And this is the Chinese exhibition hall, registering the history of Chinese development. Hopefully, this exhibition can be a great encouragement and an inspiration to the children who love football. So Through today's live broadcast, not only did we understand more about the history of cuju, but also know more about football culture in general. So if you have time, not only should you be watching football games, but also you're very welcome to come here, this football museum, to witness for yourself the development of football. Many visitors became very proud because we are considered the creators of these sports. It dates back to 2,000 years ago. It has a long history. Therefore, it's a great inspiration for development of Chinese modern football. That's all for today's live broadcast. Thank you for watching.